but again, we really took advantage of the, you can see how tight things are. Like we try to make our limitation look like a choice, which is kind of the sneaky way of pretending to be an artist. I will say very little things about shooting, because the shoot we had 6 days to do it. It was mainly the planning that made it possible. We could have had a flat tire on the car and it would have all fallen apart. Or rain. We only had 1 day to shoot exteriors. We shot 20 pages that day, everything in 1 day. Culminating in a knife fight. These poor actors were exhausted. I'm so surprised no one got hurt. It's another story I'll tell maybe at the bar afterwards, but I totally smashed the window of the van. I had to drive the equipment home myself. I couldn't see. There's no rear view window. And I called up my wife, telling her I didn't think I was going to see her again, but to make sure that she got the tapes from Alan and someone cut the film. That's another story. Anyway, moving on to post-production. Some tips for post-production, I can say, I think, again, take your time. I mean, we spent time, and actually many of you out there saw rough cuts of the film and gave a lot of input, feedback. I made a lot of cuts. The ending goes on for another 5 minutes in the original, which is so ridiculous. I'm so glad I cut that, among some other things. And then, but one thing I do want to talk about is sound, post-production sound. We run a monthly film festival, most of you know about this, and we get submissions sometimes that are $50,000, $75,000 movies that have bad sound. And the movie looks bad with the bad sound. You know what I mean? Like you're operating like with your hands behind your back if you don't take sound very seriously, creating a sense of soundscape in the world. Every sound effect in this movie, every single sound effect, every clothes rustle, footstep, it's Foley. It's done in post. The hand on it, that was my hand here. We made all these sounds ourselves. And it makes a big difference to really go in and spend the time to do that right. It's not so expensive. The guy who did sound design, Greg Sextro, he had a studio, he worked there, we snuck in late night and did the stuff. But that kind of detail work sort of it makes it feel more like a real movie. It gives it a sense of the world and the timing and the rhythm and feeling. Like that's something that, again, something else that doesn't cost money, but people don't necessarily do. And it really worked for us, I think. So I guess finally, you might wonder, where did the money go? Because how did I possibly spend $25,000? Well, it tends to disappear quite quickly. The most important thing, I guess two important things. One is feed your crew and feed your cast and feed them well. I mean, I've been on, many of you too have probably been on lots of sets and even professional big sets and just crummy food. And these people are working 18 hours a day without a break and rest. And I was very adamant about having 3 meals a day. And feeding 20 people 3 meals a day, even if you're just paying for groceries and gas, does add up. But it was the most important expense I had. The largest single expense on the film, actually. And it was really worth it. Because people were happy and fed, and I'm told the food was good. I couldn't eat it because I was too nervous. But that's very important. Another thing is like I mentioned sound before. We had some really incredible crew come in. DP was his first movie. He was a professional gaffer. Our production designer Nadia Gurvich, incredible work with no money. Yeah, she's here tonight. She's really fantastic. The place was not dressed. There was no props, no furniture, and she made this whole place come alive with very narrow shots. Of course, we didn't have any money, but really incredible stuff. Like she worked in many art departments, was taking a step up to do this thing. A lot of people can step up, but sound people don't necessarily do that. It's not fun to record sound or hold a boom. It's a job. It's a very interesting job for some people, but if you tend to skimp on that, you end up spending a lot more money in the back end trying to make it work. So that's something that I willingly spent a fair amount of cash on. And then that adds up. It was like $16,000 or $18,000 to get this in the can, paying for some equipment rentals. And then post production went to renting studio space, musicians paying musicians. We had to actually pay them. Go figure. The go into kind of have to. So that that's the quickest ever I've ever tried to tell the story, and I thank you for bearing with me for it. I guess the final thing I want to mention is I guess the question would be, can you do it again? Could we do it again? I've been wondering about that because you pull a lot of favors, and they're not necessarily there a second time. I doubt my sister's gonna let me hear truck again, and then drive it. But the thing is, no one's coming down the door with a suitcase full of cash unless there's someone back there. No, that's right. So we have to. There's no other option. And actually, I'm developing a project right now with the same cast and much of the same crew, probably, if they agree to do it. that I want to do for half the budget and half the time. The shoot time will be longer, but it's contemporary, shot in city. It's a ghost story, set in an archive. And if any of you guys are interested in helping, please let me know, because we could use your help. And that's so, you know, keep doing it. I mean, the thing is, like, this is a final plug, and we can do some Q&A. Is you know, in the brochure I go into this in a little bit more detail, but it's like places like the Pioneer, you know, places that are taking a risk with this kind of stuff, are getting more and more rare. And everyone's trying to sell their thing, and you know, I mean, I'd love to sell my thing, but you know, it's rare just to make something for the pure love and want to make it, and then worry what happens later. So, you know, I just, in my little way, I'd like to plead that everyone comes back to the Pioneer as much as possible and sees their really robust programming here. Among the other places in town, you can still see the dwindling number of real independent films, and go out and make your own, and we're all in this together. So that's sort of my concluding remark.